I've never been more excited to do an episode of Dr. Pundit than I am right now. It's about one of my all-time favorite celebrity heroes. Hey everybody, welcome to Dr. Pundit. I'm Michael Douglas, where we talk about music, not medicine. And I thought about, what way can I really introduce my audience to the latest feature here on Dr. Pundit. Of course, those who follow this channel have seen other channel features gain in popularity, like my line item show, #1 hits of the 80s, the Big Five. Well, I'm debuting my latest, a feature called Throwback Casey. Of course, I'm talking about Kasem, one of my all-time, if not the favorite celebrity influencer, for lack of a better term, in my life. I really credit this guy for getting me into music. Of course, everyone knows who Kasem is. He died 10 years ago. We won't go into, his death. People can easily search for that online, and I think it was rather unfortunate, the circumstances surrounding it. But I want to start this feature because, Kasem was, yes, he was an influencer to me. I think he really caused my interest in music to mushroom, to get excited about popular music and releases. And it goes without saying that I'm not the only one involved. Many other people feel the same way about Kasem. I certainly do. And coming up a little bit later in this broadcast, I'll respond to a comment that was made a couple of months ago that I sort of sound like Kasem with my voice inflections. Yes, I have been told that, but we'll get to that a little bit later as a kind of a tribute to Kasem. But I started listening to American Top 40 back in 1977. And why do I say that? Because the very first 45 I ever bought and played on my little Christmas present from a year earlier, my carry-on phonographs, was the #1 single of 1977, and the first one I bought with my hard-earned money, which I think was about $1.80, I think, in those days, which I guess was a lot of money, especially to somebody who wasn't even 10 years old yet. Shadow Dancing by Andy Gibb. That song was a #1 hit and was also a top 20 R&B hit that year. And it was the #1 hit of the year. And I started listening to Kasem, and I can't remember how, that year on the radio station FM 100, WMC FM 100, the top 40 station on the FM dial in Memphis, Tennessee at that time. And here was a man who was counting down all these songs that I was beginning to hear on the radio, adding life to them, giving life to the individual songs in the countdown, personalizing these songs, and it really made listening to music fun and learning about new songs as they came out just incredibly irresistible. And so I started listening to American Top 40 at that time, and pretty much for the rest of the, at that point, 11 more years that Casey had on his contract. Of course, he famously left that brand, and it was later hosted by Shadow Stevens. But Kasem hosted American Top 40 from July 4th, 1970 to early 1980 or mid-1988. And that was the first of a long run of listening to American Top 40. And he's not only famous for that show, he had a brief run of a televised show in the 1980s called America's Top 10. And in the Memphis market, this show every week aired a day before the American Top 40 Countdown, which is on Sundays. So as the 80s kind of came in, I think I started watching this program probably in high school, so 82, 83. It was just another way of taking in his excitement, his electricity toward presenting top 40 music. And of course, the only downside is that I knew what the top 10 was. And Casey Kasem popularized the term top 10 and gave that part of the chart a very special veneer, of course. I knew what the top 10 was going to be on the radio show, American Top 40, the day after. But it didn't matter because listening to it was an entirely different experience, a very satisfying experience. So I liked both programs. And I liked what Casey Kasem did with all of that. Making music fun, making top 40 music electric and just irresistible to listen to, and making songs memorable. You know, some of the biggest hits of the late 20th century, biggest songs of the late 20th century were big songs in the era of American Top 40 in the decade of the 1970s and the 1980s. And so I thought it would be a great kind of tribute, but also a way of letting you, my audience, know about how influential this guy was. And so I'm forming this new feature called Throwback Casey. And as a tribute, I wanted to do my Casey Kasem impersonation. And I've done this at parties in the past. And again, there's an inflection there. And I personally don't think I sound terribly like him, but I can kind of see why people think that. So as a tribute to him, I'm going to read a passage the way he probably would do it on the radio, I guess, or the way I would think he would do it on the radio, regarding a song, Michael Jackson's top 10 hit, Human Nature from 1983. And what's special about that song is that if you listen to the broadcast from that week in 1983 in July, Michael Jackson had just equaled the record he set 3 or so years earlier with his Off the Wall album by getting a 4th top 10 hit from that album. And Thriller by the summer of '83 was, of course, off the charts. And by that time, I'd already bought the album, but I was also buying the singles. I mean, I was very obsessed with it, like a lot of teenagers in 1983 when I was 15 were. And so I'm going to read this in Casey Kasem's voice, I suppose, my sort of characterization about this song. But there's a caveat. I don't want you to see me doing it. I'll do it behind the veneer of, this, a picture of Michael Jackson. And, I just want to throw it out there, but and get your comments on it. But I probably will show my face in later episodes later of this feature. But I just want to give a sense of what people think when they hear me doing this impersonation. So I'm going to be giving you the impersonation of Casey Kasem as he's talking about the song Human Nature by Michael Jackson. I'm Casey Kasem, and welcome back to American Top 40. The song Human Nature by Michael Jackson was famously written by a member of the band Toto, keyboardist Steve Porcaro, in 1980. The idea came up to his mind when he was having a talk with his daughter after a boy pushed her off the slide. Porcaro told his daughter that the boy probably likes her and that it's just, human nature. Porcaro recorded a demo while in studio with Toto, mixing their hit song, Africa. The band's keyboardist, David Paich, helped with synthesizers, and the track was presented to other bandmates. However, they passed on it, stating it's not rock enough for what they usually would expect it to hear or do, and suggested that the song would work better if used by another act. Porcaro, along with some of his bandmates from the band Toto, had been assisting with a production of Thriller, but he had not intended Human Nature to be used by Michael Jackson. And at one point, Paich and Porcaro presented demos to Quincy Jones, with hopes for some of them to be included on Thriller. Jones listened to most of them, with Human Nature being the track he thought would fit most on the album. He asked John Bettis to help rewrite the lyrics, though, as he wasn't satisfied with the current ones. Human Nature ultimately replaced another track, Carousel, that was very close to making it on the track list to the now classic album, Thriller. And now, on with the countdown. All right, so there you go. Casey Kasem without my face. I think I'll do it with my face in later episodes, but tell me what you think in the comments, I guess. Again, starting a new show, feature here on Dr. Pundit, Throwback Casey, where I recall some of the influential moments listening to American Top 40 or watching America's Top 10 did for my interest in music. It's just another way of presenting quality content on Dr. Pundit that I think you really like. And if you continue to like it, please like and subscribe. Liking really helps push the show into the stratosphere according to YouTube. But I want to thank you subscribers for subscribing to the show. I just passed the 100 subscriber mark. I guess that's a milestone. I really appreciate all the support. And as the late great Barry White always used to say, let the music play. And I will definitely see you on the next episode and a future episode featuring Throwback Casey.